My name is Mayuri Parikh. Just a little bit about my background. I'm an ex-accountant, and till today I was calling myself an ex-florist, ex-planner, and what have you, because I'm kind of retiring from the floral industry, planning industry, and in the process, just through really the pain point and the needs, I developed a floral planning software because really couldn't find a software that could meet both my needs, and I couldn't find a software that really met the needs of a business owner. I saw plenty of software that was for proposals and contracts and invoicing, and people are finding their ways around, and I really found it difficult. And the reason why I said the pain point is because truly, as I was conducting my business, so this is a little bit about the background on how I came about the software, because it's truly good to know it's not like an investor came and said, hey, I'm going to give you money, can you develop a software? It was more of a pain point. So I started my floral business from home in 2010. I had a retail flower shop prior to that, and my background is Indian. What does that mean? That means every family event, every gathering, every wedding, you're either making jaymalas, garlands, you're decorating, you're hosting parties. So you get plenty of experience. You never really leave the industry. Just, that's our industry, right? We're always entertaining. So 2010, I really needed to get back to work to help my family financially. My mother-in-law was going through cancer. And then to support my husband with the income and everything, I restarted the business. Everything was going well. Every year I was really doubling the income and doubling the amount of clients, and I was on top of the world. And 2015 comes and I hit, halt, because my youngest child was suffering from anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, mental health issues, right? And all of a sudden I'm like, right? I don't know how many of you've had that, right? So nobody has necessarily that experience, but I feel like we all live life. You are always affected by something that's going on in your life, or your friend's life, or your husband's life, or your someone's life, because that's what I've encountered. Back then I didn't know, right? When you are younger, life is great. Nothing happened. I'm what are people complaining about? So it happened in 2015, and I'm okay, we need a software ASAP because I need to arm my team. I need to communicate with my clients. So we tried softwares, floral softwares, didn't work. We're still going on strong, trying softwares for 2 years. Hired team members just to kind of dedicate it to the software, learning, adding things. 2018, I'm tired of this. I can't have my phone blow up when I am going to, visit my child at the hospital, or I'm riding an ambulance, whatever it is. I can't answer these text messages from my client or my team. Enough is enough. So I had two choices. I was going to either break down and crash myself, or I was going to take that pain point and really do something with it. Something within me evoked, and I decided to create a software. Don't ask me if somebody told me at that time that I was going to create a software, would I have done it? No, not knowing how much work is involved in whatever. But I am super happy to tell you that this software was truly born from the necessity to communicate with my clients, to improve my productivity, to improve my efficiency, to arm my team with the knowledge. In terms of me not being there, because that was my life, right? Me not being there and still letting my client be heard, still let my team lead. And even if I had to do something, I could do everything remotely, either from my phone or from my laptop. And that's how the software itself was born. So I wanted to really just kind of share the screen and then go from there. And I know many of you, I would love to actually, before I share my screen, I would love to know who's florist, who's planner, somebody has rental information, because I really want to focus on a high level productivity and efficiency. So if you could just kind of drop it in the chat, what you guys do, that will really help me highlight features, and kind of just take it from there. Okay. So thank you. Somebody said, so really, yes. And a planner. Okay, perfect. Let me just make sure before I share my screen, I am all good and ready to share my screen as well. Thank you for your patience.
Recording in progress.
All right, you guys tell me if you see my screen. If you do, and I'm not paying attention to the chat, so please just unmute and get my attention if somebody's chatting, so that would be appreciated. Tracy has a raised hand. Yes, Tracy. You can.
I think she's saying she can see your screen. I can see you. Thank you.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your intro. I totally relate, and I can't wait to hear about the software.
That's awesome. Thank you. So if I get really nerdy on you, just say, hey, Mayuri, can you just highlight? No offense taken, okay? So I'm going to really not start on the front end. I'm really going to start on the back end because this is where our business starts. It really doesn't start with a client. It really starts with you setting up. So for us, we go to the back end and we start setting up. So the minute you get an inquiry from your website, you should be productive. You should not, let me rephrase that. I like you not to waste your time rewriting that information. Let the computer do the work. Just plug in this basic link on your website and a contact us button. You can do it. Anyone can do it. And basically let your client fill out the information. You're like, oh my God, this is such a long form. Guess what? It is completely customizable. So if you're like, I don't want to show all these fields, completely fine. You can totally block them. So I'm going to double click to see. You can totally block it. So that means that field is not visible. So we are quite aware that everybody has a different needs. So this program is completely customizable at your fingertips, and there's absolutely nothing wrong you're going to do. So the way it works is after you do it, you get to take a look and say, hey, how will my form look, right? Because you're talking to your customer. So right now, instead of my logo, it would be your logo, your website, your information. Okay, and all the information, including the project details, the category services, because a lot of people are like, well, I'm not going to talk to my ideal client unless I know A to B to Z, right? So you can say, what do you want? What services you want to show? And you want to capture all of that at the lead capture form. Why? Because it's going to save you a lot of time, because you need the client to give you information before you give them the price. My biggest thing to my client was, when I was practice being florist, was they would be like, oh, can you send me pricing? I have 6 girls, blah, 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 this many centerpieces, and I would laugh. And then when I get on the phone, they're like, can you just send me your pricing? And I'm like, if they were my Indian clients, I have one line that I used to do. I don't know if any of you have done Indian weddings. So I would say it's like buying a bangle. I don't know how much you guys know about Indian culture, but all women have like these beautiful gold bangles, and they're like 22 karat, gold. So I would say, well, it's really depending on your hand size. So in Indian culture, the bangles really have a hand size because it's one loop. It's not a bracelet that you hook on. So the larger the hand, the more gold it will take, because the bigger the size it is, right? So I would tell them, what size is your bangle? What is the width, and what is the like tiny roses or whatever the design you're carving? Is it flat gold? It really depends on that. And then for my American client, I would say, well, what kind of apple is it? Is it Gala apple? Is it Fuji apple? Is it red apple, Macintosh apple? Like, each apple has a different price. Just like that, your wedding is so unique. So I really need you to fill out that form. And they're like, oh. So everybody has an analogy on their business on how you capture that information. I want you to capture as much as possible, but if you're like, well, I don't want to get images, so block this, right? So when you customize it, you can totally block the entire section on times and location just by saying, I don't want to get that information from the client. I don't want them to upload images. But if you want to get everything at once, you can. Why? Because you're organized. It's like, it's going to save you 5 emails going back and forth. And then you're going to ask me, but what happens after they submit the form? Well, guess what? I don't want you to lose that contact and go to the email, because that's still not being productive. So what I would like you to do is communicate with them on this platform. So once they click this beautiful button, which is, let me see, my phone is blocking it, and something is blocking it. Hang on, because with the Zoom and everything, let me see. Oh, I know what I'm doing right here. Save button. The client really gets to log into their client portal, and it's an active conversation that occurs on a client portal where they can request quantity, they can talk to you, they can upload images, and I'm going to show you all of that on the front end. And on one thing I know about this industry is a lot of us have part-time team members, design members, freelancers, and to me it blows my mind when I see everybody being charged per license, you know, and tremendous amount of money. And my thing is like, I used to have 12, 14 team members. I can't imagine paying for 12, 14 team members because I want to hold my team accountable. Whoever chatters certain things to a certain member internally or externally. So that's why we allow you unlimited users enroll, and that's your financial efficiency and productivity to hold your team accountable for conversations. So we don't want you to have to take a screenshot of your text message and then send it to your team member, because then you're not practicing beautiful boundaries of, you know, and somebody said that to me today, like, what do you mean beautiful boundaries? Boundaries are hard. And I'm like, no, they could be really beautiful if you practice them. Beautiful boundaries, you know, not only with your client, but with your employees, with your staff members, with your colleagues. Because if they have a day off, why are you texting them? Why are you calling them, right? You don't need them to respond. So through this platform, we allow you to do assigning tasks and all of that. And when they log into their portal, they're really just looking at the whole task to-do list, and you don't have to write it out for them. So that's another thing you can do. And then you can completely customize, including the payments, the contract. Now, why is that going to be efficient in productivity? So for me, the contract as a florist, you want to have multiple contracts because as we all learned in pandemic, you can get the client to sign more than one document. So some people don't have everything in one document and they're like, they re-sign every time. And I'm the type of person, here's my contract, and this is what we're sticking by. During pandemic, I was one of the lucky ones whose contract was strong, that I didn't have to do anything unless I willingly wanted to accommodate, which we did. And then we gave them an addendum with an updated date, and then we added our service fee to change the date, and we moved on from there. So, but I still needed to get the second document signed for the same project. So we want you to be really still be not going into the Google Doc or sign with 10 emails on a DocuSign just because you get X amount of document for free. Like really still be in one place, right? So we don't want you to get additional software. So productivity is not just in terms of the task you perform, but it's also like how much other digital work you do. So to me, that's that too. And then the directory. We want you to keep all your venue and vendor directory all in one. And then the powerful thing about the venue and vendor directory is if you're a wedding planner, sometimes you don't want to share some of your resources, and that's okay because maybe everybody has a different way that they make money. Not one way is right and one way is wrong. There's a lot of talk in the industry that if you work on a commission base with a vendor, that's not right, and you don't take money from the client, you take money from the vendors. I'm not here to judge anybody. I just wanted to say, if you subcontract, let's say linen, from a linen company and you're a planner or you're a florist, because it's a service you're providing, you don't need to show that vendor to the client. All you do is block it. I give you the freedom on how and what to do that. Venue, this I'm going to click on and show you how powerful this is. And this is gonna, I have plans for it a lot more. So hopefully you guys can read everything on my screen. So when you take a venue, for example, as a team member or as a planner, this is super, super important. So if you're a planner, you're really giving instructions to the remainder of the vendors on where to load it, where the room is, and all these things that's happening. So when you do the walkthrough, you can come and kind of update this information. So going in future, you always have this. If you're a florist for your team member, or whether if you're a solopreneur and you're telling your husband or your kids, like, I did. My kids used to help me when I was younger. So I would tell them like, hey, can you drive up to that side of the room? And they're like, where is it, Mom? So this is one of the things, right? So you find out from the venue, how many projects are they doing in a day? So you might be like, what do you mean? If they have 2 ballrooms, they can potentially do 4 weddings, 12 to 5, and, literally 7 to 1. I have venues who do that. Then how many rooms are there? And then you're like, well, there's 2 ballrooms. No, there's 2 ballrooms, 2 bridal suites. They could have 2 cocktail rooms, 2 outdoor ceremony, 2 indoor ceremony, plan A, plan B, foyer, all these things, right? They're all considered rooms. Why? Because at one time, remember why this was born. Because I wanted to tell my team member exactly what they're setting up, where they're setting up, without me being there. So if they're reading this, they know exactly what to do. So let's take a look at, so once you've redone the room, it allows you to add all the details of the room. What is the name of the room? Where do you load from? What are the measurements? What is the max capacity? Is it indoor? Is it outdoor? So when you are servicing a client and you just look at this and you talk to the client, you have that upper hand on just having that information and then processing that information in real time, right? You can do that once and then you can, you have it forever. A lot of people are like, who has the time? Just remember during summertime, a lot of high school kids are looking for a job. It's a great way to support your local community. And, sometimes during the school year, also a lot of high school kids are looking for a job and they have working papers. And you can talk to your high school guidance counselor and say, hey, I'm looking for someone to do data entry. These kids are amazing. They'll do it all remotely. You just show it to them, have a Zoom meeting, have a Google Hangout meeting, and basically show them, and they'll do the work for you. So that's amazing. I'm going to pause for a second and see if anybody has any questions, or am I going way too fast? Anybody has any questions so far? Tracy, you do? You do blings, okay, awesome. Decorator and planner, awesome. Okay, Tracy, your hand was on, so I was just asking, but if not, I'll go to the next one.
Sorry, I'm having a problem with my earphones.
No problem.
Gosh, I wish I knew you and knew about your platform when I was running a wedding venue. It solved all the problems. Literally.
Repeat that. I didn't catch you.
The whole thing. I wish that I had this platform when I ran my wedding venue for 20 years. When you've got a team, a huge team that you need to manage. I was doing lists for this person and lists for that person and lists for the kitchen and lists for the decor people, and it's a dream come true. It's just wonderful.
Thank you, and wait till you see the front end for a florist, who has to make recipes. There are instructions, so even it would work for kitchen staff. You can say, hey, they want, for example, I'm just making this up. I don't know. I mean, I cook and I love cooking, but I'm not going to say I'm a caterer. But you can say I want my carrots chopped julienne instead of like slices. So you could have put that in the instruction. Like as a florist, we put instructions and we'll tell our team that, hey, can you make the bouquet nice and loose? Because you can take the same ingredient and you can have a different outcome, right? So the instructions are needed, and the idea of what the bride wanted and your creativity design and the mother nature or the product or the fresh product and the hard goods, which could be the vessel, it could be the container, whatever it is, it needs to be communicated into a design via instruction. And the instruction doesn't need to be only verbal. It could be written. It could be via visual. It could be with recipe in the visual. It could be with notes and questions and answers. Amazing. And all of that is inside. So I can't wait to show you. So thank you for that, Tracy. I appreciate that.
Amazing. And about around 2018, Dusty Pink was very in fashion. And I mean, there are, and roses,
Mm-hmm.
there are like 100 different types of pink rose.
Yep.
And so if I had sent my delivery guys to collect my order,
Mm-hmm.
they had access to this, and it had to be the Casablanca lily or the,
Mm-hmm.
whatever rose it was. It just sorts out all those problems and finesses the whole process. So well done.
Thank you.
You've done a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm going to show you that when I come to the design board, Tracy. So hold on to your horses on that, and I want to get you input
Great.
on that. So on the back end, you can create tremendous amount of invoice templates, and people are like, "Don't you have pre-made templates?" No, because we're all creatives, and as much as I love us all creatives, including myself, we're all like a unique fingerprint on each of the fingers. None of them are ever the same. And even when we get a template, we butcher it up to death. So I'm not giving you a template. I want you to create your own. I want you to really think about your services and just come here and add a new template. Or if you created an invoice, come and save it absolutely from project to here as many times as you want. Because I know as creatives, right? Like we love doing things from scratch, but we want someone to say, oh, here's the template, here's the guideline. But we don't necessarily follow the guidelines nor the rules, I think. Then we have a beautiful recipe library that you can create. And this is where you're going to absolutely love this. So let's go ahead and take a look at one of the recipes that I've been just playing with. So the recipes, the things that you can do is you can call the recipe whatever you want. I love to make templates of the recipe, and especially my mechanics, right? And I can put them in a different category, descriptions, the instruction. And then I like to get my basics in. So a lot of people, sometimes they will come to me and they're like, I sold my bouquet for $125 and I had X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, how are you making money? So I really love to shock them. And I'm like, did you put a labor? Minimum 1 hour, whatever your rate is, $30, $40, $20, whatever it is. How long is it going to take you, right? Did you include the 3 pins you used? And they're like, it's pennies. And I'm like, yeah. If you make, at the end of the year, if you do 50 weddings and you made, let's say 5 bouquets per wedding, right? So that's 250 bouquets times 3 pins minimum you use. Forget the boutonnieres. It's a box of ingredient or 2 boxes of ingredient, depending on how many comes in a box. That's the money that came out of your pocket that you didn't take account for. So it should be included because number 1, you're keeping track of how much you're using. Number 2, you're learning to include the price in it so you value yourself. Self-value is the biggest thing that we miss as an entrepreneur. So and again, I'm going to go back to the efficiency of not just being productive, but also financially efficient, right? Like to me, that's big, right? Because without that, we're just hobbyists. We're not entrepreneurs. And I really want you to hone in on your entrepreneurship. So hold yourself accountable and have your team create recipes. And one of my tips that I'm going to give you for even the planners, because a lot of times the planners or designers will create a design and say, here's what my client wants. This is what she or he or they want in a bouquet or in a centerpiece, and they want this, 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 and this flower. Fantastic. When you have downtime, go to Pinterest, and some of the Pinterest floral images, I'm not a fan of Pinterest. I'm just saying it. So if the bouquet has like all these names of the flowers sticking out, and if you're able to identify them, put it here. That image, I can't do that legally because it belongs to somebody else's photo. I wish I could. And I can't reach out to everybody. But if you guys ever want me to make recipes, which you can import, send me a photo and give me a permission, and I will make a recipe and I will share with everybody. So the recipe can be just pre-made, then you can bring it into a project anytime to share with your client. So recipe is basically, in old days we used to have index cards. Now we used to have cookbooks. We still have physical cookbooks. We still have, digital books, right? So it's kind of your digital cookbook. This next feature is I love it. I love photos. I don't know how many photos you guys love, but I love photos. we as entrepreneurs, we should be taking a lot of photos of our work. Why? Because when a client wants a photo, you want to be able to create this. I'm an iPhone user, so I'm going to use iPhone. I don't get paid by Apple or anything. I'm just going to use iPhone as an example. I know Android and Samsung, all the other phones have the similar abilities. So when I say on my phone, I create an album, I literally create an album. I will, after I take photos and I upload on my computer, I used to tag. I used to like highlight all the photos and tag them. So-and-so's wedding, so-and-so venue, so-and-so color. And I used to identify all of the photos. And I was like, oh my God, I'm doing so much work. Then I would repeat that. I mean, with the cloud, it kind of synchronized it, which was great. But then I realized if it's not synchronized in my team's like, Mayuri, I don't have photo. How can I show it to the client? And I'm like, why am I disabling my employees to kind of do this, or my client? Not to see my album. Like, they see my work on Instagram, they see my work on my website. Why am I not showing it to them on this platform? So what I wanted to do is I wanted to give you guys a place. So when you finish a wedding, come here. You can create a library. You can create by venue name. You can create it by the type of category that you create. Could be bouquets, could be cakes. If you're a baker, you can say 3-layer cake. You can say 4-layer cake. If you're a planner, you can say so-and-so venue with a client, or venue and a florist. And you can choose again to share with a client or not, but you're able to interact with those photos in each of the project. So for me, this is huge because I can literally work off of my phone anywhere I am. Because remember, when I was working, I really needed to be working remotely when I was with my child. And every entrepreneur's dream is to be independent, spend time with our kids, take them to classes. You know, some of us who do have kids, some of us who don't, like you're hanging out with your friends. Like, you want to be able to just like be away from your work, but still be able to access it at your fingertips. And then we have the inventory library. So what we have is about 3,500 items, mix of flowers, hard goods, vases, pre-done for you, but we don't import them in your account unless you come here and you import it. I have nothing to import here right now because I've already imported everything every time I do a demo. But you can view this in the image library, or you can view this in a grid view. So what I'm going to do is the most favorite flower of every bride is rose. So we're just going to choose a rose. So I'm just going to, what did I do? We're just going to choose a rose because I want you to really think about the inventory. And this is where we are separate in productivity in terms of, let me just see, because Zoom sometimes does slow me down. There we go. Okay, so when you have a particular flower, the typical software will just say, what is the name of it, what is it, and how much is it, and how many stems come in it, and that's a basic, and they stop there. I don't want to stop there. Again, my goal is to be extremely efficient in productivity. So you can even say, where does this item belong? In a cooler, but you can also still, right here, sorry, when I have a recording going on, it will take a little time to click. So I could say 24 hours. I usually do 2 hours at room temperature and then move to cooler. Right? I could write that if I wanted to. This is my program, right? This is my software. It's my own account. I can do whatever I want. I can change my markup. I can even say what size it is. But what we've done, which is important, is like if you have, because the industry is changing tremendously. I don't know how many of you have seen that. We no longer have, I learned sweeping floors and by going to New York Botanical Garden, where I did get my botanical degree. I learned about the flowers and the flower care and when it's available and when it's not, and just gardening and all that. Not everybody has that knowledge. We all need a little push, right? We attend workshop, we look at webinars, but yet we need to be reminded. So what we're doing is we're like, hey, item care, how do you take care of this? Now, that doesn't mean you need to follow what I've put in it. If you have a process that you're following, that you want your team member to follow, put it in here. It'll create a beautiful report on the front end, which is called the pull list and the prep list, which is amazing. So if you have an arch, like a metal arch, right? You can say, how do you transport that? So you could have really, like, let's pretend this is a metal arch. I could here say, unscrew the wing nut and a nut, and then put it back, screw it back on, unfold it, put it on the roof rack with the zip ties, which I've done. So if I say that, do I really need to sit there and monitor? And one of my instructions was throw a blanket so my roof rack does not get scratched. So my team knew that. So I would literally put that in my loading instructions. Goes on top of the roof rack, place the blanket, the moving blanket down first, put down the arch, zip tie with X amount of pound. So they knew exactly what to do. And our step stools would also go up there. And many times our toolboxes will go up on top if our car is full with flowers. So you really have the ability to do whatever you want. And that's how our inventory works. And then your question may be, can I customize this? Absolutely. You can customize this for any custom-made items you have, any thrift shopping, consignment shopping, antiquing that you've gone to. You can absolutely do any of that. So I'll pause and take any questions you have before now we go on the front end, and I can show you how all of this interacts together. Okay, so I'm going to go into the front end. So when that lead capture form really comes in here, you don't have to type the client information. Why? Because it was already typed up. It's done for you. So you just have to come and say, oh, who are my clients? When you hover over, we tell you the status. Productivity. You just need to think and look. All your projects are going to be housing here. It's going to tell you exactly how many stages, or this is your client's journey. Have you guys identified your client's journey? What does that mean? So I would love to know, either Natalie, Tracy, anybody, like, how do you guys identify your client's journey? And if you haven't done so, I highly, highly recommend, because this is really going to help you just understand your business better and communicate with your clients better. So I highly recommend, if you haven't done so, I would do that. For florists, it's typically like you have an inquiry, you send them a discovery call link. After that, you might want to meet with them in person. You might want to do a Zoom call. So you could have said, a discovery call / Zoom call. You could send them a proposal. You can say you're waiting, or you'll either lose a lead or you send them a contract. You can put them in the whole journey. And I even put down, like, if you see here, recipes in progress, recipes completed, flower ordered, flower final payment received. Complete this, the way you want. Because this is important for you to know where each client is in the process itself, because this is how you're going to maximize, because we all work so hard getting all the clients there, like at the top of the funnel, right? And then to get them right into the narrow, they've inquired. Now you really want to bring them down and make them from an inquiry into your client. So I really, really think this would help you tremendously. So we're just going to go ahead and let's take a look at this one. Okay, so this is a project. So this project is equivalent to, in the old days, I'm probably dating myself, when we used to put a folder out of a drawer, right? And we had all these papers inside because they were all the notes and things. So what do you typically see on a folder? So we want to digitalize that. Who, what, where, when, right? Because for the planner, that's like really the big W's, right? That you always want to think about. So who is this project for? When is it? What kind of event is it? What is their budget? What type of meal are they serving? How many guests do they have? What stage are they in? All that good all that good information. Then the next thing we want to do in that project itself is that if we spoke to a client, now if you write down notes into a sticky notepad, or if you write it down on a piece of paper and then you lose that paper, you don't know where it went. You lost conversation. So even if you're on a phone, you can come here and record a conversation, and you can say, you can assign it to yourself. You can assign it to a team member. Why would you assign it to a team member? because you're debriefing your team member. You could be debriefing your virtual assistant at this point. You could be just reminding yourself that, hey, get back to this client. So you can just say notes, please get back to the client. You got to send a proposal. So you can assign yourself a note saying, it's due this day, send a proposal. And then you can assign yourself that task. So what are you doing? You're really recording those notes because the client can actually have an event. Let's say they came to you today, they book you within the month. Their event could be 6 months from today or 9 months from today. And if you have 50, 100 clients or 200 clients, are you remembering all of that? If you are, you're just storing information that you don't need to. Remember the memories that you really need to with your family, with your children, and allow that space for the creativity instead of remembering these details. These details are good recorded for yourself. You can always come back and review and get into that practice, because when life happens, somebody else can pick up those pieces. Oh, inspirational photos. Who wants to go through 10 emails, 50 emails, 100 email thread to find a bouquet photo, a boutonniere photo, a venue photo, a bride's dress, or the attire? Not me. I'm tired of that. So we want you to have a tab where the bride can add all the photos. She or he or they can add the Pinterest link or a shareable file link. It could be a presentation, keynote presentation. It could be a Dropbox. It could be a Google Drive, whatever it is. Ask them to share that with you right here. They can add notes in here. They can tap into that library that you allow them, or you can tap into the library and you can say, let me add a specific boutonniere. Let me add that. Simply as that. If you don't want to share this photo till the client really goes from the inquiry to the actual client, you can block that photo. You could block a bride's dress photo. You could do so much here, but it's organized all in one place. Project photos and videos. So this is fantastic not only for florists, but planners as well and designers, because the bride can dream, right? Event, you can have inspirational photos. You could have 50 photos, but at the end of the day, you might be only working with 10 photos from vision. So if the bride gave you 10 photos, maybe bring in just one photo. You can tap into the inspirational photos and just bring that in. You're like, yep, this is the one thing we're using. I just chose that. So you're being very specific. Or if a client says, hey, this is my wedding favor, tell them to put it here, because then you have a visual, your team has a visual on what that item is going to look like. So when you tell your team that please set up the favor table, they know exactly what you're talking about from your timeline. I'm going to take a pause to see if there's any questions, because I know I talk really fast.
I have a question.
Sure.
I work with a bridal dress company, and I think this would be perfect for them, because he really wants me to design something that has an inventory aspect to it, and then a whole system that he can offload to his workers, that they've bought this dress and where is it in the delivery sequence. Would it work for that?
You said a delivery? Because
because they buy a dress from them in their boutique, and then they order it actually from US or the UK, and it gets shipped here. So in South Africa, and so him, he wanted to have a structure of where in that it was that pipeline you had up there, like it's been ordered or they've had their consultation.
Oh yes,
they've had their dress. They've been measured for the dress. Have they? So do you think this kind of structure would work, or is it mainly only for planners and?
It can work. So
flowers?
It can absolutely work. What I'm going to tell you is when I was showing you on the back end, which I'll just go quickly and just come back. When this is customizable field, you'll just have to, I preloaded a lot of the floral, the planning, and the designer rental and the venue information, but you can totally delete them or just turn them off and just add your own and it'll work for you.
Okay.
Okay.
It's brilliant. I've never seen anything Like you've got Honeybook and things like that, but this just takes it that complete step beyond.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like you've got all those other apps like Honeybook and Monday.com, but this is so specific to the wedding industry. You know, it's just perfect, and I can see how it would work for the wedding dresses because you'd have the sizes, or you know, when you take measurements. You know, that you take measurements for the bridesmaids and the this and the color scheme. It's mind blowing.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you can do is you can put your own inventory and your color palette and what have you in the back, and just kind of don't again import my floral inventory at that point. And then you can start importing your own inventory, creating your own inventory, and just use it, right? That's going to be super helpful, and I'm going to demonstrate that part just right here in the project worksheet, which is really the heart of the program, which really creates your invoice, your payment schedule, your proposal, your contract, and all the production reports. So if you have a manager, you can assign them and they get a duplicate copy of all the emails, colors and elements. So this is what you guys want to do. So I'm just going to actually delete this real quick and just kind of show you what do I mean by that. And I'm just going to do this. And then if I go to this board and if I refresh, it's going to tell me like it's not going to do. Let me see if it's going to, I think it's my button. Okay, we're just going to play with this from the scratch here. So if I say pink, so I'm going to say pale pink, medium pink, and then let's do white. So if I choose my colors and the brides, sorry, I'm not spelling anything correct. Here we go. If I choose my colors and I say my element, so this could be fabric, it could be stones, it could be brooches, it could be anything, right? You can completely customize this. So for our, just knowledge base, we're just going to do roses. If I highlight this in a roses, and if I now click populate, if you see the computer is going to do the work for me and now only choose flowers in my inventory and say, well, you can potentially design with this. That doesn't stop me from choosing a particular item from my inventory. So let's say freedom. So freedom rose is red. And I can say I want to still add the red rose because they want to present a red rose and I want part of that design palette, even though I don't want everything in red. So I can still choose an item in here that's red, that's off my design board, if that makes sense. So whenever you add items, it allows you to start designing and it starts building your proposal, and you might be like, what? So if you see when you add colors and elements, if we go to proposal, because yes, I love Canva myself, okay? But I loved Shutterfly a lot more. I don't know if you guys know what Shutterfly is, but Shutterfly is like a memory bookmaking. I used to make tremendous amount of books for my kids as they were kids, like albums from vacations and whatever, and it really inspired me. So this page for your proposal is already made because you added those. So now if we go back to project worksheet and we look at our design board, and if you clicked on the flowers or if you clicked on the vases like I just had, and it will build your proposal. You're like, what? So you don't have to go to Canva and spend hours designing it. You just click it in there, click, 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 and it creates a page for you. Same exact way.
That's crazy.
Because I don't want you to spend hours, because I remember how many hours I spent in Shutterfly or in Canva just creating all these things. And I'm like, I'm not a graphic designer. Why am I doing this? So I don't want you to spend your energy where it's not your strong point. Your strong point is your business, what you're earning, what your creativity is. So what we've done is we've done these different layouts for you that you can drag and drop, and you're like, well, I want this to be the first page of my proposal. You could totally do that. You can say, I want this to be the next one after they see the color palette. You could do that. You can block a page, and you can do all of that in the proposal, but I'm jumping ahead of myself, so I'm going to go back to the project worksheet. Then I can say, I can start adding items in the, from my invoices that I created on the back end. So let's go ahead and do Groom's Personal Flowers. And I can say Best Man, Groom's Boutonniere, and again, anything that's a drop down, you can rename it. Like these words are done to like American terms, like a common lingo, but you call it something else. By all means, go ahead and change it. I am not offended. This is your platform. Go and rename it the way you want. Okay, so if you put down that quantity, it added the price automatically. Why? Because in the back end, we allow you to add a default price. So you're not typing it up. Again, it's about productivity. It's about efficiency, saving you time. There are questionnaires that are built up here. So we cannot create a piece, or you cannot create a timeline as a planner. I'm going to bring that in, unless we ask the clients those questions. So if I want to do timeline management for my planner friends, I'm just going to throw in a bunch of things here. I have pre-done some things. That doesn't mean we provide you all the answers, right? You can add your own questions. So let me see. Getting to know you. These are the things. This is how you get to know your clients. You can ask them to fill out all the questions. Who should we hand your wedding gifts in envelopes at the end of the reception? Which planner doesn't want to know that answer? Right? Are you having an after party? Why should you hold hand and ask these questions? Click on this button, ask the client to fill it out. When they answer, then after you've read it, you can jump on that call. Now, when you send that, you see the notification that just says email sent. We have automated emails up to 67. We pre-done the work for you. You can change the words, but I really tell you, you'll have to trust me that we've done the neutral wedding industry terms. You can wait to customize those. But if you really want to go and put in that work, go ahead and put in that work. What this does is not only ask the client to fill it out, but it'll ask the client to fill and remind them up to 3 times so you're not bugging your clients, right? And I use the word bugging because when we ask our clients, they're bothered like, oh, sorry, I was working late. Sorry, I was at a bachelorette. Sorry, so-and-so happened. That's okay. We're going to keep reminding you till you fill that out. So that's great. And what I love about that, and let me just kind of say yes, no, okay, just to prove a point. And I'm going to show you something. Wouldn't it be great if I had on my production report those questions answered, and I can have that in front of me when I'm talking to the client? So what if you had, see, like you can add even an instruction for a bouquet, but let's go to where we were talking. We were at the group. I'm sorry, my eyes are just slightly, let's see, where is it? You'll say yes, no, but I don't even know. Oh, right here. I was like, where did I fill it out? You see? Only those questions showed up with the answer. So can you imagine as a wedding planner, if you were creating a timeline and you're like, who's walking in first? Who's walking in second? Who's walking in third? Like who's who? I call it the bridal party list, right? So if you look at those questions, again, you can have all of that, have them fill it out. Without them, you can't do the work anyway. Be productive and just ask them to fill it out. So you do this work once and you rip the benefits from it again and again and again and again. So I would love to take any questions at this point on this before we move on to the proposal and the contract and the automations and document storage and notepad and chatting with the clients and table guest details and timeline and the whole 9 yards. There's so much more in here. No questions. Awesome. Okay. I guess you guys are loving this. So what I'll go back to here. So bridal bouquet, you can add a photo. If this item is rental, you can mark it rental so the client clearly knows it's rental, because you don't need to say, remember that's rental. You know, if I don't get it back, I don't get my deposit. Why are you chasing them? Doesn't make sense to chase the client about the rental items, right? Then for my florist friends who love to make recipes, floral recipes, you really tap into the recipe where we saw the inventory, and you can start adding items from here. So you can add items. I'm just going to click Agnes foliage right in here. So I can say I have that. And to prove a point, I added a lantern here. But once you do this, you're like, well, this is a recipe. And if I want to show this on my proposal, because from the recipe, I can undo one flower. It allows you up to 6 images. So I can say, please show this to the bride, that I'm going to include that in her bridal bouquet. So let's take a look at the proposal, what that's going to look like. It's just basically clicking on the sheet and it just automatically creates your proposal. It saves you so much work. So it will say this is what the bouquet is going to look like, but these are the flowers we're going to use. We're going to use one quantity. Here's the description. Done. You have the control to say, for each client, you can show price, and then further, you're like, well, I don't want to show her all the item price. I just want to show her the category price. So you can actually do that. You can completely control single price or our category price. So I respect you and your business. You do what you need to. I just provide you a space to do that. Once you've done recipe, this is the amazing part. So even for a planner, you can use this as an instruction even if you're not using. So let's say this is like ceremony. The bride's walking in. You could just add these items with no price. I'm really letting you guys know, because this will create some beautiful reports, high-level timeline. And you could write notes in here, and you could say who's doing what. And then these instructions will show up on the day of the run of the day reports as well. And this recipe is going to create beautiful pull list and prep list. Before we get into that, let's go ahead and click on a rose. So if this was my inventory item and I did not know, I'm novice at this industry, I can really take a look at this rose and say, when is this available? What colors are they identified? Which is the manufacturer? How do I care for this? All of this information is here. If you need to edit, you just go to another thing. You can also save this to the recipe library. And then if this item is not floral, and I did this with a floral item. So when we did 3 to 6 weddings a weekend, sometimes 8 weddings a weekend, and a lot of the season, because I'm in New York, our season palettes tends to be similar. So like fall, everything's like burgundies and blushes, right? If there are like 9 weddings you're doing, or 3 weddings you're doing, and there is like 5 bouquets for each wedding, there's potential you're going to take a wrong bouquet if you're not doing it yourself, or you might grab the wrong thing, or your team, right? The key is to like give instructions. So you can give instructions on a specific thing. You can upload a photo to tell your team, but you can also tell them a location where they can find this particular item, even if it's in a cooler. You can say, like my cooler, and this is a tip you guys can take away, whether it's your garage, it's your storage unit, it's your warehouse, it's your whatever room in the house, I highly recommend you create. So you can say front wall, and I literally had on the wall, this is the front wall, side wall, whatever, north, east, whatever, back wall, whatever you want to call it, A, B, C, D. Then whatever racks you put, you can say rack number 1, A wall. Rack number 2, this is like a little organization tip I'm giving you in terms of productivity. Then when you put certain items, they always house back there. And you can say that item belongs on rack number A1. So guess what? Every time that item is returned on that rack and it is found on that rack, they're not asking you 5 times, where is it? Or where should it go? Or they're not wasting time because you're paying your employees. Or you yourself, you're like, I know I put it somewhere. Your time is valuable. Don't look for it. Get into the training of putting it back where it belongs. And this is where it comes in handy for you guys. And that shows up also on the reports. Any questions so far, or am I boring you guys to like details to death? Please tell me.
All good.
Awesome. Thank you, Tracy. So the next thing is, after you've done this, for each of the items, you can take a look at the invoice and say, how does the invoice look? If you are like, yes, that item's rental. Oh, I forgot to add the quantities. Go back, add the quantities. You can go back and forth, add any fees you want. Some people add it with the dollar value. Some people add it by percentage. You run your business the way you want. I've given you the possibility both ways. One thing I love to educate people on is people always have questions on their credit card fees. And they're like, I don't use credit card. And it blows my mind because remember, I am an ex-accountant. I do have an accounting degree in the bachelor. I have BA in accounting. I have an accountant myself, and I know how much time I spend when I don't take online payments from the client, when I make exceptions. If I get cash, I gotta write it down, go to the bank, deposit. If I get a check, I gotta sign it, and then I gotta take a photo. I got to deposit, wait for it to process, and then I got to record it here somewhere so my accountant knows, or I got to save that slip. My time is valuable. Time is money, right? Old saying. So if you're worried about the credit card payments, I highly recommend, and I'll show you what I've preloaded for you guys. It's called admin fee. I learned this when I was getting a salt delivery because we have well water in our house, and in order for the whole water to be not mineralized through the hole and clog up all the pipes, we have to get like a system that's like an ion system that works with the salt. I don't know the physics of it. They started charging me fee, and then I got a delivery another time, and they charged me for fuel and toll, and I was like, okay, I don't question those. So why can't I charge administrative fee anywhere from 3 to 5% on the items I charge? And it includes my credit card fee. That's called the administrative fee. Someone sitting there processing my administrative stuff. So I want you to sit with that. And I want you to think on it. And I used to do that. And I've given you guys that. What I do is I do my setup and breakdown fee, but if you'll, this is not my personal account, so it's clear, but mine has setup, breakdown, restocking, breakage, blah, 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 and I do anywhere from 30 to 40%, done. I'm not arguing, that's it. It includes everything. So I never worry about credit card fees. Then you could do payment schedule. When you give your client a proposal, I don't want you to have to answer, what is the payment? How much is it? Can I do this? No, this is your payment. It's going to show up on the proposal. And I've even gone ahead and written down retainer. Legal term for retainer. It is non-refundable. I saw so many people suffer in pandemic, and I've gone ahead and I've done this. Non-refundable for people who didn't know, or people who are novice, people who are scared of the law lingo, right? I mean, I'm scared of the law lingo. I'm not a lawyer. So if you write that non-refundable, and when you put down the percentage, and you can change percentage, you can say it's 40% non-refundable because I took a wedding from you, and now I rejected other clients. So I lost my potential income if I am not going to do your wedding, if I'm going to cancel. So I need to retain that to provide myself basic money, basic income. So that's being efficient to your finances again. And then you're also efficiently and you're being productive by communicating efficiently. You can create payments and the due dates. On the back end, we have payment reminders. I don't want you to chase your customers. Such a waste of time. If they retain you, they should pay you on time. Once you put down the due date, we allow you to follow up with your clients up to 3 times. So you can say follow up, ask about this payment reminder 7 days before, 12 days before, whatever works for you. Set it up on the back end. I have mine set up 7, 5, and 2 days. So I can say, if it was a weekend, you still had time to remember. 7 days, typically they're like, hey, my fiance and I are doing half and half. Time for you enough to communicate, say, hey, we have an upcoming payment in 7 days. Gives them time to transfer the money into one account to pay or communicate if they're all busy. 5 days before, they're like, hey, remember, it's happening. If they have to get a check from mom or whatever it is, or a credit card number from mom or dad or whoever's paying for it. Same thing, 2 days ago. It's a reminder, hey, payment is due. Let it do automatically. You don't need to do this. You need to focus on your creativity. All right, and then if you do use our online platform to receive money, it will self-record, so you don't have to do all of that earlier what I was talking about. But if you are going to choose that route and you are beginning, I completely respect and hear you. You can write down the amount, you can write down the payment method, which we've already done, payment details, who received it, and the date, and the internal notes. You could write this information, and then at the end, quarterly or 6 months or yearly, you can create a report for your accountant. So your accountant can decipher that information all in one place for you. Then we go to proposal. So all that work we did, whether it was filling out the color palette, it was filling out basic information on the design board that we looked at. We also have auto cover page, and I really want you to give yourself credibility. So you could do a couple of things. You could add your own photo. You can add a photo of the couple. Add your name, add your credentials, and then write a personal note to the client. You can add a default and you can change it any given time. And if their color, I'm just gonna change. I'm just gonna choose a green right now. Not that this is gonna be green. I can even choose the opacity, and I can say save. So I'm going to use this, and I'm not going to use my auto cover page. I can say, well, I don't want this. I want this. Whatever it is, you can change what have you, what not. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you like all the pages, what they can potentially look like. So we're going to go ahead and generate and preview. When you do that, it does the work for you. Really does the work for you. It does take a little time to take all that information, put it together in a beautiful document that you're able to see right in front of you. It will show you the cover page. It'll show you all the layout with the images that you add. And you're able to change all these images from our layout. You don't have to use our images. You can add them again from your inspirational, all customizable. I'm just showing you the layout. Anything, you can communicate the whole story you're telling your client, right? And you can drag and drop the pages the way you want to tell the story. So you can make up to 250 combinations. So I don't want you to spend time going to the Canva. Just create different each time. And for the efficiency part, typically when I create it initial, I don't do all the tabs. I will usually choose one of these multiple layouts, and I'll put in the bouquet, the venue photo, the bride's dress, whatever I have, and I'll do the color and the design board, and that's it. Once a client's paid me, I will take that same page and I'll call this a reception. I'll put in the table, I'll put in the plates, I'll put in the linens, I'll put in the centerpiece, I'll put in little details, and then I'll re-give them the proposal just for their vision. So you could do all of that, and here's our communication on the bottom that I was talking about, financial responsibility to yourself and your business, which is you can write customize a header. They know exactly when you want payment, and then what the summary of fees are. Any questions, guys? So it's as simple. Oh, sorry, Natalie, you were about to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to say, can it be customized for currency, like if someone's in, British pounds or...
We're going to, I promise you, Natalie, I did not realize we had a lot of UK audience today, but we are in process of making it into a euro dollars. Right now, it's Canadian and US dollars. I do have 2 users who are just like, it doesn't matter to me. I just tell them it's dollars and just pretend it's in euros. So they're not necessarily converting, So that's how they're using it, just so you know.
Okay.
But we're coming, yeah. But in terms of sending a proposal, all you have to do is click send proposal and you're done. And what I really love is, because I don't like client ghosting me. I don't know if you've been ghosted or if you guys use that term. When a client opens a proposal, I know when they saw the proposal. So I really like that. Then I know it's a hot lead, and I really just hop on over to our client and staff chat and say, hey, so-and-so, I was thinking about you. I wanted to know if you had any questions on the proposal. Please let me know. This is a great place to chat with them, which is an automated email that sends to them. So I use that as a chat and as an email platform right here. I still haven't left my project. And this really, for somebody who has, I don't have ADHD, but I definitely have like a creative brain where I want to like do 10 things, and I'm a big procrastinator. So for me to do work on a big project, I'll clean everything else in the house or at my work or my papers before I actually do what I want to do. So this really helps me focus on my productivity and say, okay, let's go through each tab. Let's make sure we did everything that we wanted to do. And the contracts works the same way. You basically just add the contract and you get a template, and it pre-fills the client's information, and you send that to client. Client signs it. When they sign it, this is what it looks like when you countersign it. And then now you can see I'm able to add another contract. And when I add another contract, I can put that in here, and you're going to start back at the beginning where it's going to say this. So you can say, you can say it changed, and you can say 0 if you wanted to. You can just say addendum, whatever it is that you want to do. And then the client, you send this to the client and they'll sign it, return it back to you. So you can do this as many times as you want. For those of you who are meeting clients in person and they sign in person, you can just simply come here and sign the contract, take a photo, upload it. It'll automatically tell the system from proposal to contract, which is great. Notepad. Oh, who doesn't love a notepad, right? So I do a lot of my, so as a planner, I always had to give my vendor load in, load out instructions or arrival instructions or any instructions. So I have like a lot of that written on my back end on the templates I was showing you, and then I'll bring it in here simply just like this, and I can bring it in again. So I can do that, and then I can publish it or I can keep it to my team member. See, if I publish it, it sends it to the client, and if I leave the lock open, it allows my client to edit the document. If I don't, I just basically take away that access by clicking on the lock. Document storage, I really love this on 2 purposes. Planner, you can collect all certificate of insurance, which is called COI in the United States. So you can ask them to upload all the COI here, or you can upload a floor plan. And no, I don't have a digital floor plan building just on this platform, because a lot of people do ask me that. But, you can use any other software or sketch it. I did a lot of sketching on my iPad with my the Apple Pencil, and I uploaded that here. But as a florist, or if you have to return something, so in the United States, a lot of the florists have to return the damaged flowers or dead flowers. I don't know how many of you deal with that issues. But what I found was I was losing a lot of credits because I didn't simply follow up with my wholesalers. So what I would do is I started taking photo, and I said, task was get credit, get refund. And I would put due dates 2 weeks after, and I would attach that photo, and then that task would sit there till I got a credit from my wholesaler, which is to me powerful because it's technically my money. If it comes back to me with a credit, it's that profit in my pocket, right? So you want to be mindful of that finances. And client and staff chat, this is where the beautiful boundaries come in. I used to chat with clients on a cell phone or DM. I don't do that anymore. And if the client did by mistake email me in the email, I usually will copy paste that actually in a notepad, and I will just say, what do I have? Do I have email written here? No, I don't. But in my personal account, my floral account, I have email found by mistake, and I'll say, oh my God, I'm so glad that I found this email. My team found this email. I would have never seen it. Always chat on this platform. So you're creating boundary and telling them and training them to really communicate with you in one place. So you don't lose track of anything and your team member. So if the team member is chatting with the client, you'll see their name versus your name. So it's important. And one of the reasons why I did give everybody a multiple login without charging you is another reason of holding your team accountable for all the conversations and the actions. When you assign them a task, I did that, but you didn't complete the task. I didn't say that to the client. I do see that on the chat. So you're really training your team to do the right thing and holding yourself, having a digital conversation. So if anything ever goes wrong legally, you also can hold that conversation. Oh, I love this feature. So let's go ahead and take a look at this one. So the table details, you can say, what type of table is it? Is it a farm table? Are you putting linens? No, we're not putting linens because it's a farm table. How many people, like how big is it? It's 8 feet by, we can say 36 inches. How many tables will we have like that? How many guests are going to be there? It could be 8 or 10. You could have end caps. What kind of meal is it being served? Is it plated? Then we know if you're a florist, what kind of design you can do. If it's family style, you don't have a whole lot of space to design. If you're a designer and you know this information, you can communicate that with the venue, communicate that with a caterer. If a bride's putting in a favor, you're like, listen, you're having all these bottles of flowers from a florist, you're having a family this, you're having champagne, you really have you don't have room for the favors on the table. You will have to make a table for the favors, right? So you're really able to communicate these details and think ahead of time. And then this, I'm hoping to develop even further on this because I have amazing ideas on this thing. So for now, what I ask planners to use is for people who have specific needs on the table. Write down the table number, the guest name, are they adult, child, kids, other, right? Relationship, who are they? If they have any dietary needs, if they have any allergies, have they RSVP, what shape table and any notes there is there. Because if you do this, then the guest who needs certain attention, you have that information at your fingertips. Then we have a timeline for all of you who are planners. You can create as many timelines as you like. And you can start actually adding start time, end time, interval, and then rows. Once you do that, these lines, they basically populate themselves. And what I love about the timeline is I can share that with the client and allow them to edit or not edit. Again, we want to be able to do that work. You can say start time of the task, end time of the task, who is this assigned to, which vendor is involved, what is the activity, what is the location, any notes, and is there a photo that I need to know in terms of the visualization. So if a table needs to be set up a certain way, you could put that down. If a napkin had to be folded a certain way, a planner can, choose that image and say, well, this is how the caterer should have set it up. So you don't need to be there fixing that. You can show that image. So the timeline, you can just download it, export it in Excel, PDF, however it works for you. Then we have budget tracking, we have project tracking, and we have all these production reports. Am I running out of time? I want to make sure and be mindful of everything. I know you guys are staying up late, so I want to be mindful of that.
I think my Zoom might cut out in 10 minutes because I set it till 1.
Okay, so I'm going to go show you guys.
So I think you got 10 more minutes.
Okay, awesome. So let's talk about the production reports on a high level. So if I created all those recipes, I want the computer to do the work for me, especially if it's going to create, oh, I clicked on the wrong product report. I apologize. So if I created recipes, I wanted to create a sheet for me to say, hey, order this much flowers. And that sheet can be, if you use Mac computer, it does it for you in numbers automatically like mine did. Otherwise, it does Excel. What I love about this report is these 3 columns. it actually combines items and it'll say, well, you need 1 of this or 10 of this. Therefore, order it in bunches because it already does the division for you. And it'll also tell you how many stems are left over, which is phenomenal. So I'm going to quickly go back to the worksheet where we were when we were doing recipe, and we had only made 1 recipe. So if I want to say, okay, the bridesmaids are also getting this recipe, I can reduce my work like this simply by clicking, and now all these items will have those recipes. So if I put in 3 and I put in 1, and now if I click on that same report, it's going to look very different for me. And all I had to do was click numbers instead of me calculating, especially if you are not confident with your math abilities and you're like, oh my God, I hate doing that. I mean, you may love doing math like I do, but not math, arithmetics, but sometimes it's too tedious. Who wants to do that? So this flower, you need 4 of that. In the girls bouquet, we need 12. And there must be something else I must have copied over to right here, 1, 1, 1. So it's saying, hey, you need 20 of those stems, but I didn't do, oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one right here. Let's look at this rose. So, 1, 3, 5, and whatever. It's telling me I need total 5. So it's like, order 1 bunch, but you'll have 20 stems left over. Who wants 20 stems left over? That sucks into my profit, right? So we want you to create recipes better because there's another report called Project Cost Report. So before you order flowers, we want you to predict how much it's going to cost you. And we want you to be mindful of that. And here your manufacturers will tell you where you can order that from. And then it's going to tell you that, hey, technically you only need $85 worth of flowers, but the way you did your recipes, oh my God, you're spending $267. It's like, having a dinner over and then you buy so much, but then you end up using only so much and you have so much left over and you're like, oh my God, who's going to eat all that left over, right? So it's kind of like that, but this is literally your profit. So imagine you're losing about $175 worth of profit because that's your money, hard-earned money, which you can actually keep in your pocket just by spending another 30 minutes, adjusting your recipes and increasing your profit. But once you finalize the recipe, we can take a look at the worksheet report. So what does that do? This is for yourself, your designer, and you can say, well, you're going to make this bouquet. Here are my instructions. Here's the recipe. These are the items we're using. And here are the questionnaires, right, that the bride filled out or you asked the client and they filled out. If you're not there, can your designer make this without you being there? 100%. So do you always have to be there? No. If something happens, you have a lifeline. Pull list. So let's take a look at those. Pull list and prep list, what is that? So anytime you have hard goods, it's a pull list. Something, it's not perishable, it's not going to die on you. Something you may have in your design room. Something you may borrow or rent from a friend. So you are able to create that list. Flower processing, if you have a specific way, like here, Garden Rose Ashley, upon arrival, do this. How do you prepare this? When do you prepare this? So it's done for you. And run of the day reports. So this is great because run of the day reports, what does that do? The day of the event, you want to know where your team is going at all times because you don't want to text them and you don't want to say, hey, this is where you're going, this is what you're going to stop, you're repurposing this item. We don't need to do that. So this report with one click from the times and location, which I didn't show you because there's so much here on this platform. So here's times and location, which the clients can fill out, and you can ask the client to fill out. So if they fill out any of this information, we have these production reports done for you. And this process is happening throughout the life of the project. So the client knows, your team knows exactly what is getting delivered at what time. Then you can actually take the breakdown. So if there's any item that needs to come back, because we marked it rental, it produces that report for you. Then this is where it gets really fun. Remember we wrote all those instructions on delivery and how many and where to get those items? It says cooler number rack right here. It showed up. Here's the instruction that showed up. Here's the description. Tells you how many quantity, how many initial item that you took, how many did you load. Is this item rental? So you're holding yourself accountable or your team accountable at all times. And I am going to end with that. I hope I did okay on time, and I would love to take any questions if you guys have.
That was very insightful. I think I've never seen anything like it. I wish when I did the planning and decor, I did flowers at the time as well, and I think that would have been awesome. Yeah, we both was in the industry a few years ago, so it was like brilliant. But I could see it work. I wish I could see it in also another format. Like I could see where you've got the flowers. Do you plan on doing another format as well, like maybe with a planner or different ways, or is it just mainly for florists?
No, planners can totally use this. I was showing you, so planners can use it like I said, timeline management. So if we take a look at
that side.
Mm-hmm. So if we look at so if we look at this, like for planners, this works really beautiful. All the questionnaires that you need to build your timeline. Then you have your timeline feature right itself, right? You can also chat with them. Here's the table details that you need. Here's your budget tracking. So if a client says, my wedding, the whole wedding is $100,000, right? So let's take a look. So if the client says, my whole wedding is $100,000, you can say florist budget. So for example, right now it says florist budget is 15%. So I can say florist budget is 12%. It'll automatically adjust that. Then I can actually track client's budget because I'm the planner. I'm helping them create and follow their budget. I could do that. There's a photographer, so I can add a caterer, right? And I can say $25,000 is what I was trying to say. I can say my initial budget is $25,000. Then I can go back and say, okay, well, we got a couple of quotes. Guess what? Not going to happen in $25,000. It's actually going to cost us $32,000. So it's going to tell you you're off by $7,000. You can say, hey, yeah, my client paid $10,000 deposit. And then you can say, when is the next one due? And then you can write any notes that you want. So it's really meant for florists and planners and venue owners and designers. So you don't have to use the recipes, but I know a lot of the planners like to create mood boards because they do design and planning. So though they don't need to really get precise on their recipes and use a pull list and the prep list, they can still use our design board colors and elements and let those items be populated into the recipe and say, well, this is what we're looking for to a florist, right? When they're doing all of that. So it really makes their life easy. Or they don't have to touch it at all as a planner and they just use the timeline and budget tracking and the project tracking.
No, I think it's brilliant. It really is it's phenomenal. I don't know how long it took you to create this, but wow.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Does anybody have any questions? Yep, that one's got to go.
Okay.
And then, I just think absolutely amazing. I'm obviously going to put this on the library, and then with your page, we're designing your page, which will be ready tomorrow as well. And then you can show this off even more. I think having that background, seeing it all work together was brilliant, and I'm excited to have a look at it. The only thing that would stop me at the moment is my clients are all over the world and they have different currencies. So if that gets, or even just take the currency off. I don't know if you could do that, so it doesn't actually say.
I'll talk to the developers on that and get back to you.
Because that's the only thing that I can see that from taking it to everybody.
Got it.
And letting everybody seeing it, because from a contract point of view, you'd have to explain why there's a dollar there if you're charging pounds, or
sure,
where in South Africa is rand. But it's brilliant. And Tracy, what do you think? You still around? I don't know where she is. And then
I'm still around, and
yeah,
I'm
it's
still
now
gonna
1
say
o'clock in the morning for us, so we're still going.
Yeah, going
And
strong,
then,
and it was just. It looks like the most amazing platform, really. Everybody in the Wellington Street should use it.
Well,
I'm
Would
actually
want
going
to
to
use it.
share it. I wouldn't mind doing a one-on-one training with you at some
Absolutely.
stage where we can
absolutely.
take it further and explore it more.
Yes.
Is
and-
it Eleanor? I know Guardian Angel Wedding Planning has been with us all day. So
oh my
good for
God.
you. I mean,
Yes.
she's here
And we have Bob, who
Yeah,
just
right.
recently joined us, so thank you, Guardian
Bob,
Angel
yeah.
Wedding Planner, and Bob for joining this late in the game. I had another conference that I had a pre-commitment. I wish I could have joined you guys earlier. Wednesday, if you do need me to join, I have a couple of commitments, but I should be able to hop on if you guys want me to take any questions or answers. I would love to do
No,
that.
definitely. I'm gonna outline that tomorrow and then send it out. Who's come on where and if you're. I think for the in the planning section that would be really valuable.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
And
thank
and I just really appreciate. I think that you see what you've got here is so complex. You need like a whole day conference kind of thing to break it down and show people, and where they actually physically do it themselves.
Well, I would love to offer to your audience an extended trial, and we can do maybe a 2 or 3 day training for an hour an each, and then kind of walk them through like adding a client and customization. If they decide to continue, they can. If not, they can certainly learn and play on the platform. I would love to offer that to your audience. And I want to thank you ladies so much for inviting me, and this was amazing. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
Appreciate you, thank you.
Thank
And everyone who's
you.
stayed on board who just here. Tomorrow we got a absolutely jam-packed day from beginning to end. So I'm excited about that as well. So, but just thanks. It's been a interesting journey, and I think the people we've had today have just been awesome.
It's just incredible. Such a variety of different offers and different tools, and just it's super exciting.
And then the actual expo, the permanent expo thing, will be launched on Thursday at 12 o'clock. So that's when we
Thursday,
actually
right.
open the doors to the... I didn't want people looking there and getting mixed up, but
Awesome.
I think it's going to be really cool when that's open, and then they can actually really explore your tool in more detail
Oh, that's
and spend
awesome.
some time. And then if you want to send me that offer, we can put it on that page.
I'll
so
definitely
people
have
can know.
Caitlin send it to you. And just so you know, I mean, I'm in the United States, but we are actually doing a workshop in month of August, I think 8th, 9th, 10th in Nyack, New York. It's going to be a hands-on 3-day workshop where we're teaching the flower care and handling. This is focused to the florist, but we're teaching them like a hardcore mechanics from EMC certified, so European Master Certification. Christy Lopez is going to be co-teaching with me. And then the 3rd day, we're going to actually show them how to make money on their bouquets and any design, basically. And we're going to teach them how to incorporate this into the workshop itself. So I'm
Oh, that's
excited.
brilliant. So I'm actually adding an events page so people can see what's happening around the world. What
Perfect.
different summits, different conferences, different workshops, all that kind of thing. So definitely send me that details, and we'll add it on to the events page. And and as we go, if you got any special offers, anything like that, any more videos that explain it more, then we'll put it on your page, and
Absolutely.
because
Absolutely.
I'm sure the guys that are here now would enjoy it, but it's like taking that now, where do you go with it, and just having a little breakdown, say, right, step 1, do this, step 2, do this.
Natalie and Tracy, anytime you guys want me, I'll jump on, and we can actually do hyper-focused instead of the overall view. We can always say, hey, let's talk about floral recipes. Let's talk about timeline. Let's talk
break
about...
it down a bit.
Exactly. We can always do like a weekly series or monthly series or something. I'm absolutely open to the ideas. I love passing on the knowledge. You know, hoarding knowledge does nothing, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, software is built based on knowledge, and it's already in the software. But I would love to show you how to use it.
But I think the important thing is the fact that you was in the industry, you've been there, so you've built it based on realistic,
yes,
what everybody does.
yes,
You know, what everybody
Hands-on
needs.
knowledge.
And so instead of just building a tool because you're going to make money from it, it's actually really functional and
yeah,
can really benefit
yeah,
a lot of people. And it's now getting, that's why I love the whole expo idea as well, because
it's a brilliant
I'm sure
idea.
you know, as a wedding planners out there or florists, they can get to know you now that
Yes.
they wouldn't know from all over the world. That's why I say you got to change that currency thing.
I
And then you
will.
would just have just audience, you know, a continue. I'm not going to say there's going to be 100 people every single day, but
That's okay.
just a stream of people that are genuinely in need and really want what you have, but they don't even know you exist yet, maybe.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of, there's that gap, and that's what the expo is about, is bridging that gap so that everyone who needs what you've got to offer can find you. And
Absolutely.
you can find them.
We're in Nats and I are in the wedding industry and in the marketing industry, and blown our minds. So
Thank you. That.
it's gonna do so well.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do they
So
say?
thank you, Tom.
Yeah, your tongue to God's ear. How do they say that? Something. There's a say. You know. So thank you. I'll take that. Thank you so much, you guys.
Awesome.
Great.
All right.
Well
You guys have a
done.
wonderful night. Good night.
Keep up the good work.
Bye-bye.
Peachy.
Thank you. We'll chat.
Bye-bye.
We'll chat. Good night.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.